Hey guys, tonight I'm going to take you on a journey through an 11th century Scandinavian village in the middle of January. A place where your neighbours let the cows sleep in the house with them, where keeping a single fire going for 9 hours is a serious daily skill, and where the sun goes down at 3:30 in the afternoon, and you still have 15 hours of night ahead of you. So get comfortable. Tonight, we're going north. Before we get into it, let's get you settled. Go ahead and turn off your lights, draw your curtains, turn on the fan if you like a bit of background noise, get under the covers and make yourself as comfortable as possible. And if you feel like it, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is. I always love seeing how many of us are out here, scattered across the world, winding down together. And if this is your first night with us, welcome. You found the right place. All right, let's begin. The year is 1087. You open your eyes. It is still, by any reasonable measure, the middle of the night. It is also morning. Those two things are not contradictions in January this far north. The sun will not rise for another 3 hours, and when it does, it will barely clear the trees before it starts thinking about setting again. You're lying on your back on a straw pallet, wrapped in a thick wool blanket with a sheepskin draped on top of that. Your breath is a pale white cloud above your face. You can see it clearly, even in the dark. The fire in the middle of the room has burned down to a dim red glow. A handful of coals ticking quietly, doing their best. Somewhere near your feet, a goat shifts in its sleep. The walls of your house are timber, thick with turf packed into the gaps to keep the wind out. The roof is turf too, grass growing on it in summer, snow weighing it down now. There is one door, low enough that a tall man has to duck. There are no windows worth speaking of, just a small shuttered opening for smoke and occasionally light. Your village sits on a quiet inlet on the southern coast of what will one day be called Norway. You do not call it that. You do not call it anything in particular. It is just the place where you live. You lie there for a moment longer than you should, listening. The house is full of small, close sounds. Someone on the other side of the fire is breathing slowly. Your mother, maybe, or your older sister. You can't tell from here. A dog is asleep somewhere near the door. You can hear the weight of it in the silence. The goats are awake but patient. The wind outside the turf wall is doing what the wind does in January, which is mostly complaining. Under the blanket, you're almost warm. Above the blanket, the air has a sharpness to it that makes the tip of your nose ache. You could stay here. The blanket is heavy and the pallet has moulded itself to your shape over the weeks. But you can't stay. Somebody has to feed the fire. Somebody always has to feed the fire. Today you will work, because every day you work, you will haul water that you will first have to break the ice on. You will feed the animals. You will tend the fire. You will eat twice, maybe 3 times if it is a good day, and none of those meals will be hot until the last one. How did they wash themselves in a place like this, with no running water, no soap, and a temperature outside that could kill a person in an hour? How did they cook when the fire was too precious to waste on hot breakfasts? How did they light anything after dark? Because make no mistake, everything is after dark in January. What did they actually do with the 15 hours of night that started at 3:30 in the afternoon and didn't end until nearly 10 the next morning? And how did they survive a single night in a house with no insulation, no heater, no electric blanket, no thermometer, and a fire that, if it went out, they could not easily relight? That's what we're here to find out. You have work to do. You always have work to do. And the night, the long, long night, is already waiting for you on the other side of it. You sit up slowly. The blanket falls away from your shoulders, and the cold is there to meet you immediately, like it has been waiting. You reach for your wool tunic, the one you were wearing yesterday, because you were also wearing it the day before that, and the day before that, and for roughly the last 3 weeks without interruption. In summer you wash your clothes, in January you do not. The oils in the wool are doing work. Stripping those oils out in a freezing stream would be at best a mistake. At worst it would kill you by next Thursday. You pull the tunic down over your head, and your body remembers the smell of itself. You stopped noticing the smell 6 weeks ago, Everyone stopped noticing everyone else's smell 6 weeks ago. This is not a problem. This is just winter. The fire, meanwhile, is in trouble. What you have in the centre of the room is not a fireplace. There is no chimney. There is no mantel. There is a round pit lined with flat stones, in which a small collection of embers is making a last quiet effort to stay alive. Most of the heat from last night is gone. Most of the glow is gone. What's left is a handful of orange points under a thin grey skin of ash, and if you don't do something in the next several minutes, those points will go out. And then you will have a very different kind of morning than the one you were planning on. You kneel by the hearth. You move carefully. You've done this 1,000 times, and you will do it 1,000 more times, and every single one of them matters. From a wooden box beside the fire pit, you take a handful of dry moss, the fine, almost papery stuff, gathered in autumn and kept as close to the fire as possible all winter. You place it gently against the brightest of the embers. You lean down until your face is 6 inches from the hearth, and you blow, not hard, just a slow, patient breath. The ember answers. A thin wisp of smoke rises. The moss catches. A small flame, no bigger than a fingertip, lifts. You feed it a splinter of pine, then another. The flame grows. You add a piece of split birch. The warmth reaches your face first, then your hands, and for a full 5 seconds you forgive the entire universe. This, you understand, is the most important thing you will do today. If the fire had gone out, truly gone out with no surviving ember, you would have walked, in the dark, in the middle of January to your nearest neighbour's house to borrow a coal. This happens sometimes. It is an embarrassment, but it is not a catastrophe, because every household knows it could just as easily have been them. The catastrophe is if no fire in the village stayed lit through the night. Nobody in living memory remembers that happening. Everyone is very careful to make sure nobody will. Above the fire, a black iron pot hangs from a chain. The pot contains, because it always contains, whatever is left of last night's porridge. It is cold. It is the colour of wet sand. You look at it, and your stomach, reasonably enough, has opinions. You could, in theory, reheat it. You could push the iron pot closer to the flame, stir it with the wooden spoon that lives on the hearthstone, and in about 20 minutes you would have hot porridge. You're not going to do that. Firewood in January is not for breakfast. Firewood in January is for staying alive. You will eat the porridge cold, the way your mother ate it cold, the way everyone has been eating their first meal of the day for as long as anyone in the village can remember. But first you have to get the rest of yourself dressed. Over the tunic goes a heavier wool overdress, long, nearly to the ankles, with sleeves that extend past the wrist so the cuffs can be pulled down over cold fingers. It is pinned at the shoulders with 2 small bronze brooches. Buttons do not exist here. Nobody has invented them yet. What you have instead is a lifetime of quiet fluency with pins, ties, and loops. Your hands know what to do even when your hands are cold, which is always. Over the overdress goes a woolen apron panel. Over the apron panel goes a thick belt of woven wool. Over all of that, for when you go outside, you will add a hooded cloak of heavier wool with a lining of sheepskin. You will not put that on for outdoor work just yet. Outdoor work can wait until the fire is truly going. You wrap a length of woven wool around your head and shoulders like a shawl, and now you are dressed. The entire operation has taken about 4 minutes. There has been no mirror. There will be no mirror today. There is not a mirror in the village. The washing ritual, such as it is, happens next. There is a wooden bowl on a small shelf near the door. In it is a handful of water, drawn last night from the stream and brought inside before it could freeze solid. The water has a thin skin of ice on it anyway, because that is what water does in this house at this time of year. You break the skin with your finger. You splash a small amount onto your face. You wipe your eyes. You do not, under any circumstances, use soap. You don't have soap, and stripping the oils from your skin in this weather would not be a kindness to your skin. You rub your teeth with a small frayed twig of birch, which has done a better job than you would think. You spit into the corner by the door. You do this every morning and every evening, and in 15 years you will still have most of your teeth, which is statistically better than you will do at anything else. Now, breakfast. You take a wooden bowl. You spoon cold porridge into it, thick with barley, studded with occasional lumps you choose not to investigate too closely. You tear a piece off yesterday's flatbread, which was dense yesterday and is denser today. You have a small wedge of butter, salted and keeping well, and you scrape a little of it onto the bread. If this were a better day, you might have a strip of dried fish. This is not particularly a better day. It is a Tuesday. You eat quickly, not because you are rushed. You are in fact not rushed, but because the bowl is cold, and your hands are cold, and your breakfast is cold, and the fire, which is now finally doing useful work 2 feet away, cannot reach any of those things fast enough to matter. You finish. You set the bowl down. You look toward the door. The morning has officially started. You push the door open, and the cold, which has been politely waiting on the other side, steps inside. There is a specific quality to January cold in this part of the world. It is not the sharp cold of a clear day, that kind of cold you can push back against with enough wool. This is a damp, grey, patient cold that finds the seams in your clothing and settles there for the day. The sky's the colour of an old iron pot. The snow on the ground is not fresh exactly, but it is not old either. It has been the same snow, more or less, for 5 weeks. Your first job is water. There is a stream about 200 paces from the house, and between you and the stream there is a path that has been walked into the snow by every member of your household every morning for the last 2 months. You follow it. You carry a wooden bucket in one hand and in the other a short iron-headed mallet whose entire purpose is what you're about to do next. You reach the stream. Most of it is frozen. You walk to the spot you always walk to, the place where a flat stone breaks the current slightly, and where the ice forms in a thinner sheet than elsewhere. You swing the mallet. The ice gives way in a satisfying splintering crack, and the cold grey water underneath is exposed for the first time in perhaps 12 hours. You dip the bucket. You fill it. You walk back. The water sloshes against your leg and freezes to the wool of your overdress by the time you reach your door. This is the first of 3 trips. You will do this again before breakfast tomorrow, and the morning after that, and every morning until roughly the middle of April. Back inside, you feed the fire. The fire, which was still recovering from nearly dying this morning, is now genuinely going. You add 2 small logs of birch and watch the flames climb for a moment longer than necessary. Every time you feed the fire, you pay a tiny mental tax of gratitude. Your grandmother did this. Her grandmother did this. Somewhere in some future that is impossible for you to imagine, a person will be able to make a room warm by turning a small metal handle on a wall. That person will not understand how lucky they are. You sort of do. Now, the animals. This is the part you should probably know about. Your household shares its roof, and in winter its floor, with a small collection of living bodies that are not human. There is 1 cow. There are 2 goats. There are a handful of chickens who mostly occupy a corner near the back. There is a dog, though the dog is sort of a separate category, because the dog has strong opinions about where it sleeps, and those opinions usually win. You did not invent this arrangement. Your parents didn't either. Your entire village does this, and every village you have ever heard of does this, and when outsiders visit in summer and comment on the smell of the houses, it's because in summer the animals live outside and the smell of the winter months is simply not finished leaving. In winter, the smell is not a problem, because in winter the cow is generating roughly as much body heat as 3 human adults, and nobody's complaining about 3 extra adults worth of free heat in January. You feed the cow, you feed the goats, you check the chickens, who are fine. You break the ice on a smaller trough that sits in the corner. You scratch the dog behind one ear because you like the dog, and the dog, with the quiet dignity of an animal that has never had to tend a fire, allows it. When the outdoor work of the morning is done, you come back to the hearth and sit down. The rest of the day, if the weather holds, will be indoor work. Wool work, mostly. There is always wool work. Every item of clothing on your body was wool before it was clothing, and every item of wool started as a tangled fleece from an animal you personally know. Someone in your household carded it. Someone spun it. Someone wove it. Someone, possibly you, last spring, dyed it a soft brown with boiled bark. Then someone else cut it and sewed it, usually without a pattern, usually by firelight, usually while talking about something else entirely. Today you will spin. You take a distaff and a small wooden spindle and a combed hank of wool, and you sit close to the fire and you begin the slow, patient, almost meditative pull of fibre through your fingers while the spindle twists below. It is, you realise somewhere around the 4th hour, the only quiet you will get today. Your hands, by the way, have been cold for 7 weeks. You're aware of this in the distant theoretical way that a person is aware of something that has simply become the baseline. You cannot remember what a warm hand feels like. You tried to remember yesterday, and what came back was not quite the sensation, more like a memory of the idea of warmth, a proof that it had existed once, filed in the back of your head next to the smell of summer grass and the taste of fresh berries. You keep spinning. Outside, at some point, the sky goes from grey to a slightly darker grey, and you realise it is already past noon. If you're still with me at this point, and I know some of you already aren't, and that's okay, a quiet little thumbs up helps other people find this channel when they can't sleep either. No pressure, let's keep going. There is no bell that tells you it is midday. There is no clock on any wall in any house in the village. There is just a quiet, shared understanding developed over a lifetime of what the light does at this hour. Even on a grey day, the light has a quality at noon that is slightly different from the light at 10. You can feel it without knowing you can feel it. You set down the spindle, you stand slowly. Your knees, which you will start to notice more in the coming years, make a small complaint as they straighten. You go to the hearth. You lift the lid of the iron pot. The porridge from breakfast has been joined, at some point in the last hour, by a handful of barley and a ladle of fresh water. Your mother added them while you were spinning, without comment and without needing to be asked. The pot is quietly becoming dinner. It will become dinner over the course of the next several hours, patiently, on a fire that has other things to do. For now, you take a small bowl. You ladle out a little of the midday broth, thinner, hotter, a few flakes of dried fish softened into it, and you sit close to the fire to drink it. This is the first warm thing you have put inside your body today. You do not take it for granted. You let the heat of the bowl reach your hands before you even bring it to your mouth, and when you do finally drink, you do it slowly, the way a person drinks something they will remember tomorrow. There is a knock at the door. It is Thora, from the household on the other side of the big elm tree. Thora is 70-something. Nobody, including Thora, is entirely sure. She has brought a small cloth-wrapped parcel, a piece of cheese, a little larger than a walnut, and she has brought it because that is what you do when you visit somebody else's fire in the middle of a long winter. You don't arrive empty-handed. You don't stay long. You come, you sit, you add your small contribution to the household's food, you talk for a while, and then you go. You make room for Thora near the fire. She tells you without preamble that her neighbour's roof beam is sagging under the weight of the snow, and somebody's going to have to do something about it before the week is out. You nod. You agree. You ask after her oldest son, who is away down the coast, and she tells you he is well as of the last news, which was 3 weeks ago. You know in your bones that this is as close to current information as any of you will have about anyone outside the village until the spring thaw. In the corner of the yard, you both know, Thora keeps a small flat stone where she still, every full moon, leaves a little bread and a little salt. She doesn't talk about it. You don't ask. At the same time, her grandson walked to the church in the next village last Sunday, and nobody in her household argued with him about it, and nobody, including Thora, thinks there is a contradiction here worth raising. Religious conversion is not happening the way the history books will later imply. It is happening the way most change happens. Slowly, awkwardly, and with a lot of both, doing it just in case. You share the small bit of cheese. You each eat a quarter of it solemnly. You save the rest for your mother and for Thora's sister, who is watching her brother's children this afternoon and could use it. Thora stays for about half an hour. Then she stands up, she pulls her hood back over her head, and she goes. The light, when you notice it, is already going. You cannot tell exactly what time it is. You would not describe time that way, in hours. But you can read the sky the way a modern person reads a clock. The grey has deepened half a shade. The trees across the inlet are no longer distinct shapes. They have merged into a single dark line against a slightly less dark sky. The afternoon is not arriving. The afternoon has already been and gone, and what you're in now is the slow approach of evening. You have, by your best estimate, about an hour of usable light left. You set down the spindle, you stand slower this time than at midday, your back is tight, your neck is tight. The cold has worked its way into the small of your back the way it always does in the afternoon, and you know from experience that it will not leave again until you are close to the fire tonight with a bowl of something hot. There is still outdoor work to do. You wrap the heavy sheepskin-lined cloak over your shoulders. You pull the hood up, you step outside, and the cold, which has been waiting, does not politely step inside this time. It simply is where you are now. You pull the cloak tighter. The last tasks of the day are practical and unglamorous. You check the wood pile against the outside wall of the house, and you count with your eyes how much split wood is left. You estimate, again with your eyes, whether it will last the night. You decide it will, but only just, and you make a note to ask your brother to split more tomorrow. You walk around the house once, checking the turf roof for any dark patches where snow might be melting through and sliding. There is one small place near the back you do not like the look of. You will remember it. The animals that spent the day in the small side shelter come back inside for the night. The cow first, she knows the routine. Then the goats, complaining mildly about the indignity of being herded. The chickens have been inside all day. The dog goes wherever the dog wants to go, which tonight is in with everyone else. It is by now very nearly dark. You pause by the door before you go back inside. You look out over the village. A handful of small houses, each with a thin line of smoke rising from a turf roof, each with its own small light inside. The inlet is a black sheet. The trees on the far side are a darker black. The sky is the deep, lightless blue that comes just before full night in January. Somewhere out there, a single bird is making a single tired sound. You notice, because you cannot help noticing, that the tip of the little finger on your left hand is not feeling what the others are feeling. It is a dull, distant kind of not feeling. Not painful, not pins and needles, just absent. You look at it in the near dark and you see that the skin is grey at the very tip and not the colour of the rest of your hand. You have seen this before, on yourself and on other people. You tuck the hand under your cloak close to your body. You will warm it slowly by the fire tonight. It will probably be fine. It has probably been fine 3 or 4 times each of the last winters. You have a neighbour who lost the same fingertip 5 winters ago and still uses the hand for everything. You do not dwell on it. There is no one to tell and nothing to do about it except go inside. You duck under the low door frame. The warmth of the house, which is not really warmth by any modern standard, but is, by January standards, a small miracle, meets your face. You close the door behind you. You latch it. The day, as far as the outdoors is concerned, is over. Inside, the house has changed. The fire, which has been doing quiet, careful work all day, is now higher than it has been since last winter's worst storm. You are burning tonight wood that you collected in October specifically for this. It has been seasoned. It is dry. It catches quickly and holds long. The flames rise the height of a standing child, and the heat reaches every corner of the room. Not the whole room warm, not by any standard you would recognise, but the space within arm's reach of the fire is, for the first time in the day, genuinely warm. The cow, the goats, the chickens, the dog and the people have all arranged themselves in the shape of a loose circle around the hearth. Nobody decided this. It happened the way it happens every night, by the quiet gravity of warmth. The pot is off its chain now, resting on a flat stone near the fire, and your mother is ladling stew into wooden bowls. What is in the stew tonight is barley, the last of a cabbage that has been living in a cold cellar since October, a small handful of dried peas, a piece of salt pork the size of a child's fist, and the tail end of yesterday's dried fish softened into the broth. It has been cooking, in various forms, since roughly the time you were breaking ice at the stream. It is thick, it is hot, it has the complicated layered taste of food that has been working on itself for 8 hours. You eat slowly. Everybody eats slowly. The heat of the bowl sits in your hands and travels up your arms and settles somewhere behind your collarbone, and you notice, not for the first time, but freshly each time, that this is the moment every day is organised around. The whole day is, really, just the long, careful work of arriving back at this bowl. Your fingertip, the one that was grey an hour ago, has begun to hurt. This is good. This is what you want. Pain is circulation. Pain means the blood is coming back. You keep your hand near the fire, not too close, and you let it hurt. After the bowls are empty, nobody moves. There is no reason to. The next useful thing anyone in this house will do is sleep, and that is still an hour away at least, and in the meantime the fire is warm and the bodies are close, and outside the wind is doing what the wind does, and none of it, for now, is your problem. Your uncle, who is sitting on a low stool on the far side of the fire, begins to tell a story. It is a story everyone has heard, about a ship that was lost on the way back from a trading run 3 generations ago, and about what happened, or what didn't happen, to the one man who made it home. He tells it the way a person tells a story they have told before, with the rhythms worn smooth, with the pauses in the right places. The children listen. You listen too, even though you know how it ends, because the telling is the point, not the ending. Someone is spinning wool again. Someone else is mending a wool stocking by firelight. The dog has laid its head on someone's foot and has decided that foot will do. A goat makes a soft huffing noise once and is quiet. The fire crackles. You look at the faces around you, lit warmly from below, softened by shadow, people you have known every single day of your life, and you think without putting it into words that this is almost enough. The fire is banked for the night now, not let die, but carefully coaxed down, the logs broken apart, the brightest coals gathered into a small heap at the centre, covered with a thin blanket of ash, so that in the morning there will still be something there, something alive, something you will not have to walk across the snow to borrow from Thora. This is a skill. You've been doing it all your life. Your grandmother taught you, the way her grandmother taught her, and you can do it now without thinking about it. The small ritual of the nightly fire, the soft rearrangement of coals under ash, the quiet patience of people who have always understood that the difference between a warm morning and a cold one lives in these few careful minutes. You move to the pallet. The blanket is where you left it this morning, and you pull it back, and you lie down in the same shape your body has made in the straw over the past many weeks. Your spouse, or your sister, or your mother, whoever shares the pallet with you tonight, lies down beside you, and the shared warmth begins, almost immediately the way it does every night, the small, quiet gift of another body breathing close to yours. The sheepskin goes over the top, the wool blanket beneath it, the straw beneath that, the packed earth beneath that, the whole weight of the house and the turf roof and the winter sky, and the long, cold dark above all of it. Somewhere in the room, a goat settles. The dog, which has been circling for a place, finds one. A child on the far side of the fire murmurs something to no one in particular, and is quiet again. The wind outside is steady and low and far away. It is cold, it is dark, it is quiet, and you are still here. One more night. The way your parents were, the way their parents were, and the way, somewhere ahead of you in a future you cannot imagine, your own children's children will one day be, lying in some other quiet room, under some other quiet roof, in some other long and careful night. Your eyes close. They decide to close, really. You do not decide. And the fire, under its thin blanket of ash, keeps quietly breathing. Outside, the wind shifts once, and then steadies again, the way the wind does when the night has fully arrived and has settled into being the night. Inside the house, the fire is a soft red under its quiet skin of ash. The bodies around you are still. The goats are still. The dog is still. Somewhere, your own breathing has gone slow, and even without you noticing it go. And whatever small thoughts were still moving in the back of your head a few minutes ago have one by one quieted. The cold is out there. The warmth is in here. The long night is long, and you're in the middle of it, and you are all right. You are all right. There is nothing right now that needs to be done, and nothing right now that needs to be thought about, and nothing right now that is your job. Tomorrow will come. It always comes, but tomorrow is tomorrow, and right now is this. This warmth, this quiet, this rest. Thank you for spending another night with Slumberlore. If this helped you relax tonight, a like would mean a lot, but only if you genuinely enjoyed it. And if you'd like to fall asleep here again tomorrow, subscribing means I'll be here waiting. Sweet dreams, everyone. I'll see you next time.